So I suppose we're just gonna wait. Oh, I'm live. See, the last time I hopped on here and it's waiting circle, circle, circle. And you know I'm a tortured soul. I can't you can't torture me like that. When I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go. And I'm sitting there and it's like they're doing a blooper reel for YouTube. I mean, it's not time for a blooper reel right now. It's not time for the unrecorded tapings of Lance Richards. We need record. I haven't had a keyboard. I checked the other profile. It's 4 days away from me having a keyboard. And that'll be good. That'll help me get it out. Because as I've said many, many times over the course of these 4 years, is I just do it because I'm compelled to do it. I have no agenda. I'm not looking for attention. I can get attention else other ways. I mean, this isn't something that I do because I have any idea of getting YouTube famous. I don't care about being famous. I don't care about any of that stuff. Granted, sure, I'd like to have a bigger audience just because I'm compelled to talk about stuff with people. I think I have things to say. I think I have things to say that people should hear, may inspire people, may teach people, may make people laugh. I have a personality to offer. Some quick wit. I have a silver tongue, but I can't say quick wit. Anyway, it got me off focus. I was focused until you started giving me the little circle there, Mr. YouTube. So we're going to have to really get this down, I think. Anyway, I don't know if I have to subscribe or what has to happen. I don't even care. What I do need to do is purge. I'm compelled to purge. And today, I want to talk about history. Today, I think, needs to be a history day because Lance Richards will be out of jail on Facebook on 9/11. So when I'm able to go back live on Facebook for however long they let me until they put me back in jail, I wanted to get this YouTube thing out. I wanted to have videos basically to share. I don't even know if people can see them. I don't know if people view them. I don't even care. All I know is that I'm compelled to do it. So want to hear it? Here it goes. When we start to talk about history is a funny thing because when we first started recording history, it was like on cave walls with sandstone or whatever you could draw with, some chalk. Yeah, I don't even know where you would find, you'd have to like limestone or something. I don't know what they used. They would make some paint maybe out of berries and whatnot. I don't know. But they started drawing pictures on the wall. We acquired language. We acquired an alphabet. We started to be able to document history. History is a funny thing going back to a certain point when we started really having typewriters and computers. And now history and information is everywhere. All you got to do is hop on this computer and you can find out anything you want to know. But the problem is with history is people they've always put their own slant on it. Every civilization throughout history has its own perspective of history. So that's why ancient history is stuff that we're still really figuring out. You know that when you'll hear about, well, we found out that 3,000 years ago, this was a little different than we thought it was because we dug up this place and it told us something different. So we're still trying to figure out really what happened back before it was easy to record time, to record history, to have a fair perspective of history. Now we're in a time period where history is all around us. Shit is happening all the time, and there's all these different perspectives of what's happening. So a lot of times we don't know what is true and what's not true. Sometimes we have more trouble with our history now than we do 20 years ago. We know what happened better 20 years ago than we do right now. Or do we? See, because that's another thing that people don't really get. People don't understand that America also has its own perspective on history. A prime example is Columbus. Columbus didn't fucking discover America, folks. People were already here. How can you discover a place where there's already fucking people there? It's just an American perspective of how history rolled. And it's happened all through history. You know, the Egyptians put their perspective on how the fucking pyramids were built. The Romans put their perspective on history. The things that are being passed down to us historically are being passed down from people with different perspectives, different agendas, different ideals, different cultures, different everything. So sometimes it's really hard to pinpoint history. History is a tough beast to wrangle sometimes. And you have to try to be as fair and unbiased and objective as you can possibly be with history. History is just not to the point of a science yet. We're still studying things. We're still accumulating knowledge. We're still trying to apply the scientific method to history. We want to accumulate knowledge and test that knowledge and talk about that knowledge and come to conclusions and test it again. And we want to find out what's really fucking true in regards to history. History is a tough subject to be really passionate about. And it's hard for me to tell you that I'm really telling you the truth. I am telling you the closest to the truth that I can find historically. What I can find out without having Doc Brown's Back to the Future machine. I can't take the DeLorean back and know for sure, like Bill and Ted or like Marty McFly. I can't go back and tell you exactly what happened when Biff was did Biff really run into the shit truck? Yeah, he did. He did. He did it in all different areas. Like back in the Old West Biff. He ran into Jones's Johns in that little wagon with the shit. I mean, it's part of his DNA. So we know that now is historical fact. The point is, folks, is that when we discuss facts, historical facts, it's a touchy subject. It's a touchy subject because people see history through different eyes, through different cultures, through different understandings, through people used to see the sun and thought it was God. But we changed that perspective throughout time. They used to see the bird and say, oh, Jesus, criminally, that must be a spirit. He's watching over us. He guides us, different perspectives throughout history. Now, when we talk about American history, that's a little different. Even American history has different perspectives and different slants and different agendas for what we do. We have our own historical perspective as Americans. We see what happened differently than everyone else. They have this thing about, the victors write the history. So whoever wins fights historically would tell you what happened during that fight. And of course, they're going to color themselves in a good manner. They're going to not say that we're a bunch of fucking bullies and we went in there and slaughtered people and took their land. They're not going to say that. They're going to paint a prettier picture of history. And that's almost absolute. People aren't always going to be fair with what happened because they see it differently. But when it comes to America, we are rooted in some pretty good history because we could write stuff down. We had different people writing stuff down. It was a pretty good, we had a pretty good, and we allowed everybody to talk. We've got all these books. We saved all these books. We didn't push away ideas that we didn't agree with, like past people did. We didn't get rid of books in the Bible because we didn't like what they said. A lot of history was lost to the people who didn't want to hear that story. I don't want to know that side of the story. The people who win always get to tell the story. What if the bad guys won? What if throughout history the bad guys won and they told a different story than really happened? We don't know that. We can't say that for sure, but we can still try to put this stuff together and come up with the closest to the truth that we have. But when it comes to American history, we got a lot of stuff to help us find the truth about what really fucking happened. Okay? We're getting there in a lot of ways. Like, for instance, we forgot about Indian genocide that happened on our watch. Bad history. Shit that we did that was probably not very good. So we kind of put it off to the side and really didn't look at it that much. You see? So that's some things that you really got to dig deep for these things. You got to really be searching for the truth, the closest to the truth that you can find. It is true that we committed genocide on the Native Americans. It's absolutely true. It was something that we as Americans felt was our God-given right to do. We believe that. And to this day, as an American, I'm instilled with the idea that that's part of my history. That's something that we had to do. Because if we didn't do it, we wouldn't have America. So we're put in a bad situation, you see. We don't want to feel bad for that, but we probably should. But it's tough for us to reconcile. It's tough for us to come to terms with. Because it's part of our history. It's a bad part of our history that we have to live with. We have to deal with. It's like you did something bad, but something good come from it. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You have to, first off, yes, you probably should feel bad about that. You probably should. Just like you should probably feel bad about slavery, that other human beings that are part of your group had to suffer. Yes, you should feel empathy for that. You should feel bad for that. But let me get back to focus. Let me discuss what I really came here to discuss, which is politics right now. I like history, I like sociology, but right now, it's politics. It's got to be about politics. Because the problem is with politics and people is it's sort of like history. They don't want to know some of the things. A lot of people don't want to know any of politics. They don't want to be bothered by politics. That was part of our luxury as an American for a couple generations, where we didn't really have to worry about politics. We didn't have to worry so much about our civic duty. Okay? People didn't have to understand what the fuck they were talking about. They were just allowed to believe whatever they wanted to believe and bitch whenever they wanted to bitch, and they didn't really have to understand any of it. All they really had to know is that this is how it affects me, and this is why I'm pissed off. They didn't really have to know why this was going on or what this means. So, let's get back to the point of how we absolutely know some things going on, because they are written in our Constitution. See, in American history, we were ruled by another empire. See, back before America became the big dog, in the world, the big dog tend to rule a bunch of places. See, England, they were colonial power, so they made colonies all over the world, and we were one of them. And we were under their rule, way over across the pond. We were part of the English Empire, the Britain Empire, and we were under their thumb, and we did what they said, and we paid the taxes, blah, blah, blah. You should know that history by now. That's how it was. They were our masters, our colonial masters. We were under the rule of a queen and a king. At that time, it was queen. No, it was a king. It was a king. Fuck him. King George. That's who it was, right? King George. We were his subjects, and we did what he wanted us to do. Well, history tells us that there was people there that got fucking sick and tired of that shit. So they came together and said, hey, no, fuck you, king. We're done with you. We don't want you no more. You're not going to sit over there on your throne and tell us what to fucking do. Fuck you. Hit the bricks. Now, of course, there were people in America at that time that, oh, no, we can't be mean to the king. We got to stick with the king. Conservative people, well, we got to stick with the king. We can't go away from tradition. We can't branch out on our own. We got to stay here. They were afraid. They were scared of the change that the rest of these independent patriots wanted. The liberal-minded, independent patriots that wanted to change and had a new idea for us. That's historical fact. That's definitions. That's applying definitions of terms to historical fact. A bunch of liberals told a bunch of conservatives, no, this is a better way. This is something that we need to do as a country, get our independence, and start our own shit. We don't need the king. We need to adapt and change and overcome. Create our own autonomy. Be free. We had this righteous, liberal notion of freedom and government of, for, and by the people. All men are created equal. It's written right there in the goddamn Constitution for you. And signed and dated and established. History. Historical fact. These things are here to guide you, folks. And it's pretty unquestionable. I mean, you can debate it. That's what makes America great. You can bring your perspective into it, but if your perspective is shit, you need to get it gone. Politics start to try to make history science in a way. Our political structure, what is laid down for us in the Constitution, is a guideline for how we make history better, how we form a perfect union. It's right there in black and white for you. That's what they want us to do. Form a more perfect union, dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal, and women, and all races, and all religions, everybody that's an American, born here, or here working, paying taxes, whatever, they're all created equal. Everybody. Now, of course, I would debate that it applies to all people in the fucking world. But let's not even go there right now. That's the next step. That's another shelf up. Let's just keep talking elementary American history. This is just stuff that you should really know by now. By the time you're 18, you should understand this shit as your civic duty. It's something that you owe America. You should have your brain wrapped around what the fuck you're supposed to be doing as an American. So, allow me to enlighten you. The Constitution is what guides our government of, for, and by the people. Let's discuss of, for, and by the people for a second. We have a government that is run by people. The majority of the people vote for a representative in their district, in their town, in their county, in their state, and the president and senators and whatever, mayors. We come together for a vote and share our voices, and this is how I feel. This is who I want. This is why. We have a voice. Everybody has a voice. And we elect these representatives to speak our voice for the government. That's what we do. That's our government. And it's a very liberal notion, because before it was always a warlord or a dictator or a king or a queen, or, there was always some higher human power. We gave power to all the people. It was a very righteous and liberal idea. That it's our grand experiment. It's never been done before that we know of. Now, back to the historical fact that we know. we absolutely know that should guide us, first and foremost, are these couple of very righteous notions. All people are created equal. Let's just make it that, because we fought battles. We fought battles to make women equal, black people equal, minorities. Everybody's equal now. Okay? That's how we've adapted and changed with our great righteous notion over the years historically. Is now it's to the point where all people are created equal and endowed with the God-given rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, guided by certain ideals. One of those ideals is the First Amendment. Things that we are given by the Constitution, historical fact, what America is based on. The First Amendment says you can't establish a religion and you can't discriminate against religion. Therefore, religion is a moot point. Religion is for you. If you want religion, take it. If you don't want religion, take it. If you want to guide yourself with religion, go ahead. If you don't, go ahead. You have the right to do anything religiously that you deem necessary, as long as it's not infringing on other people's rights, as long as it's not breaking any laws, which we'll get to later. We have them laws too. Don't kill people, don't steal from people, don't rape people. You got to have some social laws, because you don't want people just being crazy, because guess what? They will, if you let them. There are some people out there that just will do bad shit. So you got to say, whoa, 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 don't do bad shit. And if you do, you're going to get in trouble for it. You got to have that. But basically, religiously, you're allowed to believe whatever the fuck you want to believe. But you can't make anyone else believe it. That's the line. That's the line you can't cross. You're allowed to believe whatever the fuck you want. You just can't try to make anyone else believe it. You can't impose it on anyone else. That's what that means. One of the other things in the First Amendment is you have the absolute right to stand up to your authority. We didn't want to be like the king before, where you couldn't question the king and you do what the king says, and if you don't, off with your head. We didn't want that society. So we made it that we can question our government any fucking time we want about anything. We can hold them accountable, petition. We can assemble peacefully in groups and discuss our government all we want. We could tell them they're dirty, no good cocksuckers, and this is why. And we want this to be fixed. We have a voice. Also, in the First Amendment, right after religion, I got all caught up in my individuality, in my freedom. Let's talk about the freedom of the press, which was very important to our founding fathers, obviously, because they put it in the first fucking amendment, right with religion. These are two important things, right? They're boom, boom. First fucking amendment. You cannot tell me what God to love. Period. You can't tell me I can't have God, and you can't tell me I have to have God. First fucking thing. Let's get that clear. Right? Historical fact in the fucking Constitution. Clear. Next one. Freedom of the press. the absolute freedom of the press. They are allowed to spew any kind of information they want to spew. It's up to you to know what the truth is, to find the truth. They're allowed to say whatever they want, but you got to figure out what's true and what's not. Okay? Now, along history, we tried to put things into place. For the longest time, we had things in place. Well, we shouldn't let people lie to you, straight up just lie to you, which they're doing. They're going to do. But we had these FCC. We got news that was somewhat regulated. Okay, we had to regulate news. And we had that for a long time. We had a very good partnership with the news where the news wouldn't tell people stuff they couldn't handle and too much and they couldn't understand, but they kept them informed for America. Because see, media and government has always had like a partnership in a way. Is that they had an understanding that sometimes bad things happen. It's good to keep the sheep happy. We have to keep the ignorant masses from going crazy with shit that they don't want to know and don't understand and don't care about anyway. So they told you what you needed to know. And they tried to do it pretty fairly. But now we're to a different position, of course. Now everybody fucking lies. And we have to get back to where we have to find balance in these things. We always have to find balance, forming a more perfect union. It's right there. We have to apply these things to each other. So the free press, yeah, sure, the press can tell you whatever they want, but the press should also endeavor to be credible with the news that they're feeding the masses. It's a touchy subject. See, it's a grand experiment. It's a liberal notion. It's something that's never been done and bears much fruit, obviously, because we're all Americans now. After 200 years, we've built ourselves a pretty good place. The envy of the world, or at least it was. But back to focus. Let's go back to history. Historical fact that's documented for you. Reinforce. First Amendment. Don't forget, all people are created equal. All people. First Amendment. Can't tell me what God to love. Ever. Can't tell me I gotta have this God, and you can't tell me I can't have that God. That's not your business. That's my business. Your God is your business. My God is my business. Moot point. Doesn't matter to America. That's your right. Next, freedom of the press. Free flow of information. We have to be able to find out what the truth is. But by the same token, you should probably try to be fair about the truth. Petition, assemble. You're allowed to hold your government accountable for the bullshit that you don't like. You're allowed to voice your opinion and say, hey, I don't think this is right, and this is why. And if they can't tell you why this is good, then we don't do it. If enough people come together and say, hey, motherfucker, this is wrong, then we don't do it. Petition, assemble. Peacefully. As peaceful as you can. Now, another thing that we have to discuss. And it's tough. This is a tough subject. Is moving on to the Second Amendment. The right to bear arms shall not be infringed. And that's fair. I wholeheartedly agree with the Second Amendment. It's a fact. We have to allow people to defend themselves. Back then, you have to allow people to sustain themselves with food, and, it was a lot more lawless back then. Now, and yes, you had to be able to defend yourself from local governments, maybe. You had to defend yourself from state governments, maybe. The Confederates, they wanted to try to defend themselves against the federal government, but they lost. And we kicked their dicks in the dirt. So, I see you have to have the right to bear arms within reason. Again, within reason. We don't want crazy people having guns. We don't want people carrying around guns everywhere, because we know that if there's more guns, it's only logical to assume that more people are going to get mad and shoot each other. We have to establish the fact that the reason that our idea of government of, for, and by the people is so liberal and out there and a grand experiment is because of the fatal flaw of human nature. People are going to do bad shit. People are going to mess up. People are going to have different opinions and be different people and do different things. But we have to find a way to bring all this together and cook up a good stew in our melting pot. And that's what we try to do in America every single day. But of course, we've lost our way lately. And all throughout history, there's points where we've lost our way. And it's recorded. There might, of course, there's different perspectives. People in the South see the Civil War differently than people in the North do, as a rule. People in the South see slavery different, Jim Crow different. Everybody sees things from different perspectives. So it's hard to wrangle the truth. So let's, for the last 20 minutes, the last 1/3, I tried to, these are historical facts I'm giving you. This is America. Okay? I'm giving you a history lesson about America. This is historical fact. For the last 1/3, let's apply this lesson I gave you to what's going on right now. Apply these facts, political, historical, American facts, to what's going on right now in front of your face. Now, I don't even know where to start. That's basically where we're at right now, is that we have strayed so far from our righteous notions that it is foobar right now. It's fucked up beyond all recognition. I don't recognize America right now because America's not America right now. You see, America is not honoring its righteous notions. It's not honoring its grand idea. It's not in line for a more perfect union. It's strayed. It's strayed way right. Way right. Extremely right. And let's break that down. As an elementary notion, politics are made up of, for you, just as a basic understanding, you have conservatives on the right, liberals on the left, and then you have moderates down the middle. So extremely conservative minded people, well, maybe not extreme, but more extreme minded people are conservative right wing. Liberal people are on the left wing. Okay. And the middle brings it all together. So it gets more extreme the further you go out on the wing. And that's right now, we have been steered way right. America tries to keep it in the middle. We try to include as much of the bird as we possibly can. Of course, the people out on the extremes are going to be bad. They're allowed to exist out there, but they can't be guiding the middle of the bird, because now the bird's going way right. And we can't have that, folks. We can't lose balance like that. And people want to run down the two-party system, but that's how our government works. That's basically how it works, is that we have the right and the left keeping each other balanced as we fly our righteous notion. That's what it does. But the problem is the last 4 years, the bird has swung way right. And we got to understand that that's just going to lead America to crash. That's how it goes. We have to bring the bird back to balance. We have to have the body of the bird flying righteously, a righteous path. Okay? We can't tip the scales too far. Because when we tip the scales too far, we crash. Now, let me explain to you how sometimes how the bird starts crashing. Let's take our first righteous notion. Religion. If your religion gets conservative and tilts right, what's that going to do to the bird? The bird's going to start crashing. So if we're tilting more conservative religion, we're going to crash land in the fucking ground. Same thing with the media. If the media is telling all kinds of bullshit right-wing lies, crash. Same thing with petition. Same thing with assemble. If you can't have a fair trial for an impeachment, if you can't peacefully protest in the street without getting gassed and rubber bulleted, you're crashing. That's where we're going with America right now. You apply these facts to what's going on, and you see why it's going on. You are steering the bird way right. And you're expecting everybody else to follow you down and crash. Why are you doing this? Because you don't understand it. You're selfish. You're greedy. You only care about your right-wing conservative bullshit. So you want to shove it down everyone else's throat. And what you're doing is you're crash landing our bird with your right wing. And you don't get it. Because whether you think I'm way out here on this left wing or not, the truth is that I'm right here. I'm the bird. I'm the righteous notion, forming a more perfect union for everyone, not just your right wing. And that's basically what's happening. That's what's happening to America right now. And it's sad. It's sad because most people don't understand what they're doing. They have a right to have that right-wing perspective, but they don't have a right to crash the bird. Do you understand that? You owe it to the bird to bring balance back up, to make that bird fly righteously. American eagle flying righteously. Do you understand? You have to get your brain wrapped around that, folks, because if you don't, our eagle's going to crash. And when it crashes, when it's crash landed, you got a lot of scavengers out there that are going to come pick the bones, and they're already starting to come pick bones. You already got Putin in control of this right wing. Russia is absolutely in control of our right wing right now. Because Russia's in control of Trump. And I hope that you understand that too. Because make no mistake, Trump is not beholden to this grand experiment and this notion. He don't give a flying fuck about honoring America. He never did. He don't care if the eagle crashes because he's one of the scavengers that's going to pick the bones. And maybe create a monarchy for his family. Because you got all his right-wing conservative buddies that want to vote for Don Jr. next, and then Ivanka, and finish off with the Baron. How fucking absurd is that? We go away from a king just to create a new monarchy? How absurd is that? See, that's how you know people don't understand what they're talking about. That anybody who could post that they want a Trump dynasty to create a king and royalty, you're not American. You're a dumbass. You want to be ruled by fucking, might as well go back and be ruled by Britain again. It's just, the problem is that people really don't know what the hell they're talking about. They don't understand how important they really are to America. You don't understand how important your civic duty is. And part of your civic duty is understanding what truly is facts and how they apply to what you're doing to our country. You are crashing our eagle with your right-wing conservative horseshit. And I don't know how I can explain it any better to you. I don't know how you don't understand that you need balance to fly. If you swing us one way, we're going to crash. I can't make it any more clear to you. I can't break it down into bite-sized pieces anymore for you. What more do you need to understand what you're doing? You need two wings to fly. And you definitely need your body straight, pointing in the right fucking direction. I talk about the fence in the middle that people sit on that's moderate. I sit on the fence in the middle, right down the middle of the bird. If I need to be conservative, I'll be conservative. If I need to be liberal, I'll be liberal. I will take all of this stuff in, process it, and figure out the right path. I can navigate. I can help you find the way for this bird using facts, using logic, using reason, putting these things together and applying them. The scientific method of history. Very, very righteous history that we have as our guide. Now, that really is a good analogy. That is the best illustration of politics, elementary explanation of politics that you will find. Now, yeah, sure, we don't want the bird going left either. We don't want to get too liberal. We don't want to get too conservative. Either way is going to send us crashing. We got to find a righteous balance for everyone that keeps everyone safe and everyone flying through and adapting to change and staying strong. Now, a couple more things that we want to discuss is just the nuts and bolts of this. I do always want to try and be at meat and bones. We can start expanding on all these ideas and all these facts and all these, we can build on it. Okay? But right now you need to establish a firm foundation and base in understanding your civic duty. And most of yous don't. So how in the hell can you get more in depth? How can you talk about the Uranian deal and what Hillary should have done and what Obama should have done? How can you even begin to discuss Benghazi if you don't even know what the fuck you're talking about? That's the problem. That's our fatal flaw. Human nature. Humans are okay with remaining ignorant sometimes and indifferent. You don't really know what you're talking about. You're just pissed off. And of course, you're going to fight for your selfish and greedy notions. And you're not going to care about the rest of the bird. You're only going to care about your right wing. And that's what's happening, guys. And it's easy to prove it because they fly the flags. If you fly a Confederate flag, you are way on the right wing. If you fly a Nazi flag, you're way on the right wing. Because there's nothing more, there's few things more conservative than white supremacy. White supremacists are about as bullshit. They're like extreme religious people. completely right-wing fucking lunatics. If you believe that bullshit, you're way out on the right tip. And there's too many of yous now. There's way too many of yous acting like you're way too tough, because all you're going to do is crash us. And then you're going to be the ones whining. Because you don't have your fancy lifestyle. And that's the funny part about it. That's the funny thing about it. Is you know not that which you do. You don't understand it. And I'm here to enlighten you, folks. So you should use me. You should use me as an enlightening tool. You can already see I can take shit. I mean, fight with me, argue with me. I want you to. I want you to get down in the trenches with me and let's dig deep. But first, you have to come to the understanding and get your brain wrapped around the fact that you're not really rooted in fact. Your opinion is lacking. It's lacking knowledge, true information. It's lacking wisdom. It's lacking the experience of putting these things together and actually caring and understanding. You have no trial and error. You just pissed off, so you bitch about whatever you're pissed off about. And you don't even care. That's basically where we're at in America. We got a bunch of people that are ignorant and greedy, ignorant and selfish, indifferent and hypocritical. They're not being fair. They're not being thoughtful. They're not being honest. They don't have the foundation of knowledge that they require to be making the decisions they're making. They don't have everybody's best interest at heart. They don't care about our righteous notions. Because if they did, they would quit trying to crash us. Now, we're almost finished. We've almost come to the end of this particular Loonie Liberal Power Hour with your host, Lance Richards. Try not to forget that, because I think it's a good tag. I think it's a good tag. But I want to spend the last couple minutes talking about how we're connected, because I do love all you guys. I might be pissed off at you. I might want to kick a couple of yous in the nuts, and but I love you. And I know that we can make this bird fly right. And I know that we're strong and powerful and passionate and good people deep down inside, all of us. Well, most of us. Some of us are just assholes, but such is life. But the majority of us are good people that care about each other and love each other and want this bird to fly right. And I'm calling on you guys. I don't care what you are. I don't care if you're conservative, if you're liberal, if you're a Democrat, if you're Republican, if you're female, if you're Mexican, if you're Muslim, if you're white, conservative, Baptist minister. I don't give a shit what you are. We need to care about America, okay, over ourselves now, right now. We have to be thoughtful to America and its righteous notions. We have to be honest and fair for her, for America. Even if it hurts, folks, even if it hurts, we need to be ready to sacrifice for America. That's everybody. That's everybody. Everybody needs to be willing to sacrifice to make sure that our eagle flies righteously. Whether you like it or you don't like it, whether it hurts or it don't hurt, we need to be strong for each other. We need to be fair for each other, honest and thoughtful for each other. And we need to love each other. And we need to realize that we're all in this together. And if the bird crashes, we all crash. Now, that's been my hour. I hope you enjoyed it. I always do. Makes me feel better. I will be seeing you live on Facebook, maybe again on this, who knows. But 9/11, mark that down as if you hadn't already. A very solemn day in history. And I will be, trying to come back to Facebook Live on 9/11. If not that day, someday shortly thereafter. All right, that's all I got for tonight, for today, this morning. Dumbass out.